Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Another episode of the Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Steve, as always, being joined you by my awesome co-host over here, Mr. Zach Burrows. Zach, how we doing this afternoon?
What's up, Steven? What's up, my man? Lot of fun stuff to talk about today, man.
Yeah. We got a lot of stuff going on, but let's kick it off. We are being brought to you by our doc, Make 'em Yours, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton location. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. But guys, man, like Zach said, a lot of stuff happened this week. A lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking some Flyers. Going to be talking some Phillies, some Sixers. We're going to be interviewing UFC fighter, local guy here to the area, police officer, Mr. Christopher Daukus is going to be joining us this afternoon. We're going to get to some NFL talk right as we wrap the show up as well. So, but let's kind of get into our poll here, and the poll is brought to you by Ambuck Services. That's AMBUCK Services.com. Call Michael Ambrose. Tell him A2D sent you 20% off. Percent your gutters. Anything around your house got you covered. AMBUCServices.com. And that poll question is: will the Flyers win Game 7? It's been a long road. They were down 3 games to 1. They've won 3 overtime games to get back to putting this game into Game 7. What are your thoughts on it? Do you agree or disagree? Will the Flyers win Game 7?
Me? What, do I agree or disagree? Oh, well, you know me. I'm just going to have to be the guy that, pushes everybody's buttons to start this thing off and just be an absolute, jackass about the whole thing. But, the Flyers haven't won a Stanley Cup since, 1974? Is that correct? The Flyers fans in this city were used to heartbreak. I remember plenty of heartbreak as a little kid. That 04 team or whatever it was, losing to Tampa. That year that Tampa won the Stanley Cup, it's just we're used to it at this point. They're losing to the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup. So do we win Game 7? Oh, what a great story it would be. 21-year-old goalie, he's got a chance to be, one of the future faces of the not just like Flyers hockey, but the sport of hockey. But, he's not ready yet. It's not their time yet. They're going down in Game 7.
Oh, Zach is going to go against it. I don't know, man. I got to say,
I'm just trying to rile people up.
The Islanders should have put this team down. They play a different brand of hockey than the Flyers in some of the other matchups where the Flyers have looked really well this season. How do you get 22 shots on goal and you lose the game and your team has 4, damn near 50 shots? And that team wins the game. When you're playing your worst hockey and you're still finding ways to beat the other team at the other end of the ice, come on, man. That has to play on them at this point, Zach. As much as I would want to say, like, look, you have to think of it this way, dude. They're a young team with their average age is like 25, 26 years old. They're playing with house money right now. Absolutely playing with house money. You have the goaltender. That has always been this team's Achilles heel. Me and you've already spoke upon this. I'm sure the guy's been beat.
Special players.
He's not only is he going to be the difference, but I just think that the experience that they're getting on the job right now is also helping them grow as they're going along, as the series going along. Normally, you would see young teams like this. What do, bro? They fold, right? Especially when you give up leads like that and then having to wind up tie it up, back up, and then go and catch it in overtime. Not a lot of teams can do that, man. Especially young teams. Granted, we do have some veteran guys placed here and there along the team, but you know what I'm talking about, Zach. That is an almost impossible thing to do with a young team, with a young core. And
I'll tell you what, Flyers fans know this. I'm 27. Steven, you're what, 38?
39.
39. So, hey, I tried to help you out. You should have just been like, yes, I'm 38. Like, I tried to make you a little younger than you.
No lies.
One thing being a Flyers fan is taught, anybody that's watched the Flyers long enough is expect the unexpected with them, right?
Listen to what Tommy's telling you.
My
people.
I wouldn't be surprised by anything. They could choke it up, in any way and lose this game in the most outrageous of outrageous ways, and it wouldn't surprise me because I feel like I've seen it all in 27 years watching Flyers hockey. And listen, for the city, like Philadelphia is a sports city, the Flyers winning would be phenomenal, and the Flyers making a run to the Stanley Cup would be.
I'm telling you right now, the Flyers are winning tonight. But,
listen, somebody's got to be the bad guy here. Somebody's got to wear the black hat and try to be the guy that everybody.
You're our negative Nancy today.
I'm going to be the negative guy. I'm going to be the asshole that just, pisses everybody off and says the Flyers find a way to lose this game tonight.
Oh, man.
Somebody's got to be that guy. How much fun is this show, Steven, if me and you just agree the whole time? It's why you're here, because you don't have a problem disagreeing with me and telling me to shut up and that I sound stupid and that I'm wrong. So, I'm not going to agree with you. How much fun is that?
What up, Don? One of our locals is always back on, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, like where the modern history tells you, dictates, say, hey, that this is an L for the Flyers. Where I don't feel that way, man. I don't. I already told you how I feel about this team. Yeah, they got down, but hey, listen, they dug down, and like I said, already playing with house money. They're taking Game 7, brother. I don't care what you say.
Go ahead. I'm with you. I love the fact that Flyers. Hey, listen, and we said this last week. I love the fact that Flyers fans are always excited about the team. They're always excited about, they always think we're going to win the Stanley Cup this year. They always think they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. But this year, this is a team to actually be excited about. There's substance to this team. There's reasons to be excited about this team. So, I'm glad everybody's excited. Like I said, it would be great for Philadelphia as a sports city for the Flyers to go make this happen and win the Stanley Cup this year. It'd be great. And I'm sure the parade on Broad Street would be wild.
That everyone would go to, despite anything.
That's good. Trust me,
COVID. You say whatever you want. Wait, people in Philadelphia from celebrating. Yeah.
COVID guidelines are not going to be. They're not going to be followed if there was going. People aren't going to give a damn.
People be wearing masks and whatnot, but I highly doubt you're going to stop anyone from any parade of any championship of any team, regardless if it's Philadelphia, regardless if it's California, regardless if it's Boston, whoever winds up winning anything. You're not stopping that city from enjoying their sports teams. You can stop us from bars and all that. Like, listen, like you can find a way to make that happen. You're just gonna have to put them on buses, and they're gonna have to travel all over a goddamn damn city.
They're just gonna pack the Amtrak, just like we did with the Phillies World Series parade. And I wasn't at the Eagles parade, but I'm assuming it was the same. People just packing the Amtrak, people can't breathe because they're shoulder to shoulder, standing on top of each other, and having the time of their life in the process. It'll be the same. Nobody's going to care about 6 feet apart and wearing masks. None of that's going to matter.
And my thing is, we still have a tough, fun, exciting matchup for whoever waits to win it, regardless if the Flyers and Islanders, and that's the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, I mean that's a hell of a matchup.
We have had the better of this matchup recently. They play well with us. They like to go have more of an open game that plays right into the way that a lot of the guys on this team play. And if you want to go playmaker for playmaker, I think the Flyers win that slugfest. So if they can get through this Game 7, which I do believe in, I think it will be a tough out, but I think they could dispatch of the Tampa Bay Lightning and move on to. Like I said, they're playing with house money right now. It's in their hands, and you're going to hear me say that a lot today because we got another hot team in Philadelphia we're going to be speaking on in just a minute. But what do you say? I know you're sitting there saying L, but if they move on.
If they move on.
Team, do you not see them moving on to the Cup Finals?
I think Tampa's a tough matchup too. I really think that is, but I mean, listen. I wouldn't. This is a team. When you look at how hockey works, this is a team that. This is what championship teams are made of. When you look at teams that go on championship runs, the Flyers have all of that. They have the moxie. They have they play with that little swagger that you see all these championship teams play with. And they've got a young stud goaltender that they've seemed to rally around. There's always that guy that a team seems to rally around. And it's like, their belief in him helps elevate, the performance of everybody else around them. And Carter Hart's kind of had that impact.
Here's one for you. You think having Oscar out there kind of gave you juice?
Absolutely. And that's and then the return of Lindblom, however you say his name, Oscar.
Yeah,
I don't pronounce it. Oscar.
That's how I say it. I'm not sure if it's the correct.
Oscar Lindblom is how I would say it too. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, definitely him coming back from cancer and return. I mean, those are the types of things that uplift a team and seem to just,
propel,
elevate the everybody else around them. They've got all that, That's why I say this is a team that there's legit reason to be excited about as a Flyers fan this year. You look at championship teams of the past, and the Flyers have all of that. They maybe don't have that sexy player on offense, like the sexy name or whatever you want it to be. Claude Giroux's the sexiest name they have, it seems, on the offensive side of things, and he's kind of not really been that guy in the playoffs. So but
as much as we listen, every time we start calling somebody out, they start delivering. Did we not say something to Drew and he's not kind of like in the week before? I said something about Voracek and Jake is kind of so. Who do we want to call out now to sit there and say they need a game? Because even we even said something about JVR. Then JVR kid comes in and
I would say Drew needs to be the best offensive player today. Like Game 7, he needs to go be the best offensive player. He needs to score a goal and be involved in a couple others, like something like that. You know what I mean? Like, go be that guy. It's Game 7. Who cares what's happened the rest of the playoffs? He could have sucked ass the whole rest of the playoffs. It won't matter. If he has a goal and 2 assists tonight and the Flyers win 4-3, you know what I mean? And you make up for all that, and you become nobody's talking about what happened in the rest of the playoffs before this. We're talking about his performance in Game 7 and how clutch it was. So he probably needs to be their best player just because that's what he's supposed to be. You know what I mean? So it's time for him to be that guy. But
I would say, if anything, I would have to say I need something from Hayes. He needs to be the first guy on the board, period, regardless if we're talking about Flyers, Islanders, whatever. He needs to be the first one to put one in the back of the net.
I mean, I think Carter Hart's going to do what he's been doing. People tell you he's had a couple shaky performances. Sure, that's fine. He's been pretty stellar. I mean, it's been hard to be mad at anything Carter Hart's really given you, at any point over the past month or so. I think they've got. Like I said, they don't have necessarily the big names or anything like that some of the teams do, but just everything that they do, the way the team seems to have gelled throughout this whole process, they've got that moxie and that swagger that you look for. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be one guy. It could be any guy this year that or tonight in Game 7. It could be any guy that steps up and makes that big play for them. Hart's going to have a couple big saves, at big times like he's been doing. But yeah, I mean, if you're saying who should be, who needs to be the best player tonight, I mean, I think it's unfair to say it needs to be anybody but Claude Giroux, right? You're paid to be that guy. You're expected to be that guy. It's time to go be that guy.
Listen. You're going on Claude Giroux. I sat there and says, hey, I'm telling you, I need something from Hayes. I need him to be the first scorer. But at the end of the night, if Carter Hart is the best player on the ice, I will take it because that's all this team needs.
At least, except you need somebody to put the puck in the back of the net for the Flyers in order for that to matter.
But but at the end of the day, you're telling me that if Carter is the best player on the ice for this game, are you telling me you don't think your goal scorers are going to be able to get the better of the other guy?
If Carter Hart has 50 saves and the Flyers lose 2-1 because nobody could provide the offense that was needed, Carter Hart was the best player on the ice probably for either team, except it doesn't fucking matter because you lost Game 7 because nobody stepped up and scored a big goal when you needed it. So
as much as I like to been down on this team over the years, this is, I don't see that from this team. You know, you can't listen. We can't sit there and continually beat this.
I think
just over the points. Listen, they do things on other places and on other parts of the ice, man.
Okay, yeah, but if we're talking about strictly Carter Hart, that whole situation. I mean, I think we all expect him to play well. Like, he's been playing well. So this idea of who needs to step up and have a big game. Well,
I mean, if you really think about it, the only guy that hasn't stepped up and really kind of had his way and played his game in these playoff series so far is TK. So if we get something from TK the way he was in the regular season, if he's the guy that kind of makes that step up to the plate game today, then fine. I'll take that. But as long as we do what we need, and I already know we're going to get our diligence of it. And we also have to think about the other thing is, if I remember correctly, they gambled and still played their starter game 6, which was what they should have had the rest day for him, because how they played around. So how does that play? And he didn't really have that great of a game against us, right? So we also have to play that into effect. So I like the way the kind of chips are falling for the Flyers to take Game 7. I've laid it all out for you, brother. I know the Flyers have a lot of ghosts and skeletons in their closet, man. You got to let them go. You got to let them out, man.
Let the skeletons out of the closet.
Well, at least for you, man. You're on the other side. I'm trying to show you why there's
I am the skeleton in the closet. I mean, look, you talk about skeletons. Because I like real life skeleton, bro.
All right, man. All right, but I think we beat the drum. We're gonna see what happens Game 7. I think we've already seen where I stand, where Zach stands, where the fans stand. I kind of think most of the listeners that have been tuning in to
I'll be watching AEW tonight anyway, so I won't be watching. I'll be watching AEW. Hey, listen, I'm looking forward to it. Don't be hating on AEW at the moment.
Oh, I'm not hating on it.
You got a lot of guys here that are looking forward to the AEW pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly, Greg.
Not one of them, by the way. Brian Wilson will be watching Game 7. He will not be watching AEW. He will be watching the Flyers game.
But here we go. You know, we were talking about the Phillies last week as we were leading into the trade deadline. They
10 of 11.
themselves a nice little.
We said they needed to add a bullpen order. We actually didn't just want a guy, right? We actually wanted somebody of substance. David Phelps is somebody of substance. I mean, that's a very, very solid move to bring in a guy like that to try to bolster your bullpen.
And they've had still hiccups over the course of the last week, so we can I don't think that's completely done, but what they've done, they've won 10 out of the last 11.
And they won 10 out of 11 with both Bryce and JT scuffling a little bit. And that's really, really good to see. You got other guys stepping up, because this is what Bryce is anyway. We know he's going to be streaky. He was hot to start the year. He'll go through a little bit of a
he gets hot come playoff time. I'm fine with that.
That's fine with me. Exactly. What we needed was for everybody else to get.
They've also been going away from what this team has been trying to do. Was going over the fence. They've been winning games by putting runs on the board, also playing small ball and letting Girardi coach with his gut.
Yeah, I mean, I think Girardi, one of the things I see a lot of Yankees fans complaining about right now with Boone is how, he just seems to mismanage every possible situation. So, one of the things I like about Girardi is I think absolutely there's still a lot of analytics and stuff like that being, thrown, and being, available that they want these managers to use. But Girardi just seems to be very, very good at being able to balance all of it and understanding when he wants to, go with more of his gut and what his baseball instinct's telling him at that point, and how to balance that with what the numbers might be telling you. And he's just so phenomenal at it. We're seeing guys stealing bases. We're seeing the bunting. You talk about the small ball that seems to have disappeared from a lot of baseball. Not just we didn't see it the past couple of years with Gabe Kapler at all, but it seems to have disappeared around baseball in general. In a lot of ways, and it is great to see all those things. We're doing what we need to win games. And if that means, we got to steal bases and bunt and things like that, that's what you got to do. You can't just try to live and die by the 3-run homer at all times. Rhys Hoskins is a guy that's come around that. When we had this conversation a week ago, when we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, he was still a guy that we were very concerned about. And over maybe the last 10 days or so,
he just lit it on fire,
absolutely red hot. And we knew what Bryce and JT were going to be for us. It was everybody else in that lineup that you were kind of like, what can they be? Can Rhys get back to anything close to the guy that he was, a couple years back when he was hitting, 30-plus home runs, and when his rookie year when he came up and went on that historic streak? Can Alec Bohm has looked very promising. Everything about him looks like he's going to be a professional hitter. He's got a very professional approach up there. He hits the ball the other way. There's a lot of things about him that you like for a good hitter.
But you have to be encouraged with what you're seeing. They're finding different ways to win. It's not kind of this consistent thing where you can kind of take things away from them. So
it's probably the first time in 3 or 4 years that we're not trying to live or die by the long ball. When the long ball happens,
Greg.
Yeah, exactly the perfect point. The first game they've won all year without hitting a home run. Sure, okay, because the home run's such a big part of the game now. But the point is, you're not living and dying on the idea of, hey, somebody needs to go pop a 3-run home run here and get us back in the game. You're finding other ways to manufacture runs outside of hitting home runs. Everybody, look around baseball, every position guys are hitting 20 home runs now. I mean, you can't, it's really rare to see somebody play a position that is going to hit 320, but it's only going to hit you 10 home runs. Those guys rarely, they're not a part of the game anymore for whatever reason. It's shifted to such a run-producing type of game. But, there's other things that still go with that, Gene Segura stealing a base the other day. You know what I mean? Things like that to go along with the home run and things like that. Things that we haven't seen a lot of, stealing bases and things like that, have seemed to gone away. It's not, we might not have a guy that's going to steal 40 bases for us, but we're at least seeing, the team take advantage of those opportunities that are there for you to go steal a base and take the extra bag when you need to. All those little things that work. It's something to be excited about with this team. You know what I mean? We haven't had this excitement about this team in what feels like forever. You know what I mean? This doesn't just seem like a fluky excitement. It seems like there's some substance to this. You know what I mean? It's like, you've got, with everything else going on in Philly sports, the Phillies are kind of right there in a position to maybe make a little bit of a playoff run of their own. And we all know how exciting, when Phillies baseball is good, how excited everybody seems to get in this city about it. People seem to get rabid about Phillies baseball when we're competitive. For whatever reason, when we suck, they seem to take a back seat and focus on the Eagles and the Flyers. It's the only two sports they care about. But you probably remember how you remember Citizens Bank Park, how poppin' it was back during that time when we had all those competitive.
Yeah, remember we had all the idiots from Jersey getting drunk and doing all this nonsense, and
45,000 people there.
They're not Philly fans; those are drunk idiots.
Whatever. But there was no better place to be on a Sunday afternoon than Citizens Bank Park with 45,000 people. Get the fuck out of here! It was awesome. So. I can't tell you what, I miss that playoff atmosphere in this city. I missed having that playoff baseball atmosphere and what comes with it. And who knows? They've talked about the possibility of once you get to the playoffs, fans might actually be able to be involved in this whole thing. So we don't, that hasn't all been figured out yet either. So there could still be some wild cards there that make it very possible that, making the playoffs and you actually could end up getting a home field advantage, because fans are allowed in or whatever the deal may be. I know they're talking about this bubble idea currently, or maybe trying to figure out some sort of bubble idea currently for the playoffs. Whatever. It's at least exciting to feel as if a conversation involving the Phillies and the playoffs isn't just like a false hope conversation. Let's all be optimistic conversation. It's an actual, hey, we should be really excited about this team. They seem to actually be going somewhere. The past couple of years when we got off to those hot starts with Kapler, it was almost like we knew at some point.
Everyone was like, "God, when does this completely fall apart?"
Right. We knew at some point everything was going to come crashing down over the past couple of years.
Yeah, but it was a different team. What you were talking about is what was so special about the Utley, Howard, Hamill's teams was. It's just you knew that what those teams were made of. But when you look at how those teams were constructed, there wasn't anything that tied you to it that gave you the belief that it was anything that was sustainable, regardless if they would put together 5-10 game streaks where they would go on nice runs just like they're on right now. It was a different feel, and you still don't know quite what this team is because we're only going to get a smaller sample size, but it's totally a different thing. All you got to do is get into the dance at this point in time and get some good timely pitching to kind of get you to where you need to be and get the guys hot in your lineup that when you need to be. And like I said, if JT and Bryce kind of fade off until right around the time we get into October and where they start to kind of catch their groove again, I'll accept that.
Yeah, well, that's what you hope. Like I said, we know what I mean. JT is a pretty consistent guy, but we know what Bryce is very streaky, and you just want him to get hot at the right times. And when he's hot, he's amongst the best hitters in baseball. When he's in those hot stretches, he's right up there with anybody. So we needed everybody else to come around. And the one point I disagree with what you say is I think we do know what this team is now because we're more than halfway through the season, and we've seen that this team is now put. What we've seen by them winning 10 of 11 is that they're capable of putting wins together in big bunches. They're capable of doing that and putting them together in big bunches in what's a 60-game season. We're pretty much in that September stretch.
I was just saying we're kind of like you don't have a defined nucleus of what you could expect from each guy and everywhere. It's not like we're.
Well, I guess you could probably say that about every team. But as far as what this season is, as far as what they're being,
you're kind of retooling, rebuilding. You're kind of getting new faces, and you have a new a new manager in your dugout. So it's kind of like that's what I'm saying. You're still kind of trying to figure out what this team is in that sense.
Okay, well, I don't know. I disagree because I think at least from where they're at, if you look at they've won 10 and 11, they've got to feel like personally they know who they are as a baseball team. There's no way you go through a stretch like this and you don't feel as if you figured out who you are as a baseball team and what your identity is and what your upside is. And I think you heard Jake Arrieta talk about it, and he even mentioned some of the – and you know what I take from Arrieta? People can hate on Arrieta all they want. The guy's had some good moments in the city. He's had some bad moments. He's gotten a lot of hate from people. But you know what I like about Arrieta? He's always been a guy. If he says something, I trust it because he's been negative. He was very negative at times when Kapler was here about some of the shit that was going on and about some of the things that was happening. He called out the defensive shifts and said it's got to be amongst the worst in baseball. We're costing ourselves runs and games by having the worst defensive shifts in all of baseball. So I think when Arrieta speaks, I think he genuinely says what he feels. And I take what he says, as, okay, you know what? I don't think he's just trying to bullshit me. I honestly believe this, he feels this and he means this. So when he's telling me, he feels like there's similarities in this team to what, the Cubs team was in 2016 that he was on, you know what I mean? And that he sees similarities in those two teams. I honestly believe that he sees those similarities. I don't think he's in the business of fluffing people. I think we've seen enough from Arrieta to know he's not just going to say something in the effort to fluff somebody. He's saying that because he means it and he believes it. So yeah. I think this team personally in that clubhouse, at least, they feel as if they have a little something. They personally believe we've got some veteran guys. We've got some guys that are MVP caliber players. We've got some young guys that are stepping in like Spencer Howard and Alec Bohm that are going to be impact players down the stretch for us here. And
we make big ones right there. I think if you get some more out of them this season, they're going to make sure that you do get a playoff push. And it's going to be another thing where, the Phillies team, if they can make like what we were talking about last week, if they control their own destiny, if they can, take the majority of the games when they get into this Miami series and take the betterment of the games when you go to the majority of the divisional matchups we have.
Winning 5 of 7 would be huge. Winning 5 of 7 would be,
I think they're more than capable of doing that. That's the crazy part about it, and that'll set them on this road that. Regardless if we're talking division title or wild card berth, whatever, it's something that was an attainable goal when we started this whole thing. When we were talking about the 60 games, I basically said just don't lose more than 10 series. where you're not winning, getting swept, where you're not even getting anything out of it.
Giving up 7-run leads, having a 7-0 lead after the first inning and giving up baseball games. Yeah, those are the types of things that can't happen. But you know what? That's another good thing about this team. Those are the types of things that those can break teams. You know what I mean? Those are the types of things.
Yeah.
Those can break you. If you don't have the right mindset and the right attitude about things and the right leadership. In your clubhouse. Those are the types of things that can really break you as a team. And this team didn't let those things break them. They figured that out and weathered that storm. And I think at some point early on this year, as fans, we kind of had this idea of no matter what, and this wasn't that long ago, even a couple of weeks ago, we had this idea of no matter what lead we have, oh no, here we go again. No lead is safe. We could have a 5-run lead in the 8th inning and the team gets 2 straight hits and we're like, oh God, here we go again. They're about to make a run at it. And there was that type of just, you felt helpless about it. They've gotten past that, and now, in this 10 of 11 streak that we've got, you're watching these games late in the game, and you don't have that feeling anymore. All of a sudden, you're like, okay, hey, we got this. We're going to be all right here. We're going to win this thing. That feeling, that helpless feeling of, oh, no, we're going to blow another one, has slowly turned into a confidence that, hey, we got this. We'll be all right here. It's 5-2. We're going to hold this. We're going to hold this thing out, and we're going to win it. Now, those are all things that those are strong signs of a team that believes that they're good enough to make a run and go make a little noise here. And for me, that's a sign of great leadership amongst the players, and then obviously Girardi being able to step in and really change the attitude in a hurry, because I think it was they had no idea what a winning mindset was with Gabe Kapler there over the past couple of years. I don't think they had any idea what a winning mindset was. And I think Girardi's really been able to step in and be like, hey, guys, this is what it's like to act like a winner. This, you carry yourself like a winner, you prepare with it. This is what it's like to be a winner. And, and it took a little bit, but they've got that moxie about them. We talk about that swagger with the Flyers. I think this team's got that confidence. This Phillies team's got that confidence a little bit.
Yeah. And one more thing, guys, again, if you haven't.
I want to pump the brakes a little bit. I don't want to make it seem like I'm sitting there promoting they can make a deep playoff run and go win a World Series or anything. But this team, to me, I'm excited enough about them to think, hey, yeah, they're going to go to the playoffs and they could maybe win a playoff series. They can make, they can make a run and go to the NLCS or something like that.
You could still see that, and if you, like I said, if they can get things to kind of play their way, listen, when you get in a situation where you're playing with house money, you're in a situation you're not supposed to be in, and you're getting good play out of both pitching, hitting, getting everything kind of going your way, then anything's possible. We've seen crazier things happen in baseball.
I mean, I like the top of the rotation, Nola, Wheeler, and then hopefully Spencer Howard by the end of the year would step into that, going into the playoffs. It could be phenomenal if he could be your number 3. You know what I mean? If he could be your 3, and you've got Nola, Wheeler.
Yeah, but you have to think how that plays off in the playoff too, because sometimes it's too much for some of these younger pitchers. They're kind of you either step up or you melt.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would play that with matchup, who's he going to go, who's going to start for the other team, because I don't want to throw him up against somebody else's 1 or something like that. But Nola, Wheeler are your clear 1-2, and then I'd probably rather be more comfortable with Howard as my 3 over Arrieta. But depending on who your matchup might be, you could interchange those guys or whatever. But I mean, if those are that's still a pretty stellar 4-man rotation to go into a playoff series with. You know what I mean? Where you're usually only going a 4-man rotation and not 5 anyway. And then all those other guys become long relief guys. And I mean, you think of all the guys, all the arms that you all of a sudden have that can eat innings and stuff in the bullpen in long relief roles. Velasquez and Eflin. There's some guys there that all of a sudden you're like, okay. If we have to, there's a guy in the bullpen that can give me 5 or 6 innings. A couple different guys that can give you 5 or 6 innings. Yeah. I like the way our rotation is. I'm just more my concern would always be what it was before. Is I'm more concerned about our late inning, bullpen. Once we get to the 7th, 8th, and 9th, I'm still worried about that come playoff time. That would still end up being our Achilles heel, in my opinion.
We'll have to find out. But right before we change gears, guys, remember tonight, Game 7, watch party here on A2D Radio, Flyers game. So
Game 7 watch party.
Like we've been doing it for like the last couple games. I'm sure the guys are going to be doing it again tonight, which you are seeing coming across the screen. Some of the comments in the chat. So, guys, again, anyone who's tuning in now, make sure you're locked in for later on tonight. I'm sure it's going to be a blast with these guys. Did you see the reaction video from the overtime goal from the guys?
What are some of these comments we got? I'm sure there's some comments about my hair and my mustache and my beard. I heard Tommy.
I think when you were doing the whole skeleton talk, that was the comment.
Oh yeah, you said something.
I think someone got tagged and said, "Hey, I found your doppelganger." and then because you picked someone else, someone said you're an Islanders fan. I don't know.
Oh, I might. I couldn't. You know what's funny is I know Barry Trotz is the Islanders head coach. Outside of that, like I know John Tavares used to play there. He doesn't play there anymore.
He said John Tavares. Oh my God.
Tavares, whatever you said. See, this time I told you I watch hockey come playoff time. That's when I watch hockey. You don't see me watching much regular season hockey. Although I am in an area of Phillies rabid about hockey. I'm down here in Tampa where they're rabid about hockey too. So I at least hear about it. I have to hear about all of it. The people talk about it down here. So I know what's going on with it. There's just probably other things I'd rather watch than a regular season hockey game.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears real quick here. The rumor mill going around for the Sixers head coaching searches. It looks like it's slowing down and landing upon one Tyronne Lue might be the next Sixers head coach, as all rumors and reports are indicating. Zachary.
I'm trying to do that Travis Konecny.
Your facial expression and disdain just from those words when I speak it. It almost looks like the meme we sat there seeing of what was it? I think it was TK where you're doing the
Travis Konecny or whatever.
Yeah, you were just doing that meme with yourself, bro. Like, excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's time. I mean, it's ew. It just like that was. I think I even posted that. That was my reaction when I saw it was posted on one of our social media platforms. My comment was just ew. Like why? Like of all. I mean, like. We talked about possible names last week, like Mark Jackson and David Fizdale, like guys like that. Like, why Tyronne Lue? Like Jason Kidd and Tyronne Lue are pretty much the same. I mean, I guess one of them's got a ring, but outside of that, like neither one of them is like proven at any point as a head coach that they can actually coach up a team. You know what I mean? It's not a hire that gets me excited in any way. Not to mention, we all know like what Tyronne Lue is remembered for in this city more than anything else is Allen Iverson crossing him up and then stepping over him after hitting that jump shot in the NBA Finals. And of course, fans are going to try to look for every possible reason to like just bring that up and throw that back in Tyronne Lue's face every chance they get. I don't know. I'm not excited about it. I did hear an interesting theory though from somebody that is a big basketball fan, big basketball guy that said he could see the possibility of this could possibly be a way where maybe it's an attempt to try to lure LeBron to Philly after his current contract is up with LA because of his relationship with Tyronne Lue. There was obviously reports that did confirm that LeBron a couple years ago before signing with LA had been doing at least his due diligence, looking in, like he had talked to private schools in the area and things like that about possibly sending his kids there. So he was definitely at least interested or doing his due diligence on researching the area. I guess I could see where that could make sense if you wanted to make a run at LeBron. What's the best way to make a run at LeBron is to have a coach that he obviously is okay with playing for, and we already know he's okay with playing for Tyronne Lue. So maybe, but I mean, that's just you putting all your eggs in one basket. You hired a guy as head coach simply because you're going to make a run at the best player in the world in free agency who, let's be honest, will play wherever the fuck he wants to play, and not because you decided you made him a best offer or something like that. Like it's an interesting theory, but I just don't buy that. I think they honestly hired Tyronne Lue because they like him and think he's the best guy for the job, and it's just another mind-blowing, head-scratching decision by this organization that seems to be full of them, and they make one after another after another. I'd rather them hire you, Steven, to be the head coach. I mean, like, you're a good guy. I'd feel good for you. It's good money. Do a lot of good for you and your family. And, with you, I probably expect us to suck. You know what I'm saying? But at least, like, I'm happy for you because you're a good guy and what it does for you and your family personally. Now I've got to expect us to suck with a guy that I just, like, don't lie. Like, let's be honest here. Tyronne Lue's got one of the most punchable faces I've ever seen. Like, from a basketball coach.
Well, I'm sure he's not going to get a whole lot of love here in Philly, especially, he's more known for Allen Iverson, stepping over for him. But
if he sucks,
from the looks of the chat, it looks like our guest is just about ready to jump in here. So without any further ado, we are being joined by this afternoon's guest, my good friend, everyone, UFC Heavyweight, Mr. Christopher Daukus. How we doing this afternoon, brother?
How are you?
I'm good. Just getting off your shift. I take it you're here, so there was no problems this afternoon, right?
Yeah, no problem today. So it's all good.
For people who don't know, for new listeners, people who are new to Chris, on top of being a UFC fighter, is also a Philadelphia police officer.
Yeah.
And obviously, little man needs to join the interview, and
hey, gotta have somebody to steal the show, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
How old is he now, Chris?
He is 19 months.
Having fun having him changing your way of life, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There you go. This is memories for a lifetime. Here, you'd be able to tell him later on that he was live on a sports radio show,
right,
at 19 months old.
Right,
The story before you could even remember.
He gets his introduction to the world, like, hey.
Oh.
But obviously, Chris, it's been a long road for you, man. Me and you, I watched you come up along as an amateur, making your pro debut. Obviously, my kids spent some time in your guys' gym down there at Martinez's. Became, now having your chance. You're on the big stage. Watching it. Your brother kind of got still a little spotlight right before you, but you get the impressive win here. You're back home now. Kind of, dreams fruitions are starting to come to fruition, man. So, how you feeling now, man?
I'm feeling great. Like you said, it's seeing everything happen. My brother making his debut, and then me getting that short notice call. It's kind of been like a dream come true type thing. I mean, 2020 has sucked for the majority of the time, but there's certain little things here and there that are definitely good for us and our family. So.
Yeah, man, it's 2020 has sucked for the majority, but at least for the Daukus family, you guys have made the best of this year, no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. What's up, one? Yeah, it's. I couldn't have asked for a better time. I mean, the UFC is putting on numbers, and shows pretty much. I think it's every week.
It has been just about every week so far. Yeah,
especially with the Contender Series going on. So it's been. I was hoping to fight and get the title from Seed, and then go from there, and then hopefully get the call for the maybe the Contender Series. But hey, I'll take a UFC contract any day over fighting for one. So, I'm cool.
Yeah, man, it's and that was a really good fight. I was looking forward to. Like we talked about always. Like you're one of these guys that always wanted to fight the best, and he's kind of been one of these guys in the area as you've been coming up along in the area. He's one of the better guys. Eventually, I think he's probably going to want to be in there. I'm sure we're gonna see that thing run back and see who's the best one in the tri-state area. Correct?
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that his fight fell through, but I'm assuming that he's going to be trying to get a fight as soon as he can. Maybe he'll get back onto the Contender Series. Maybe CFFC will help him, call someone in, through with all this COVID and make sure they actually get a fight. But he'll definitely be there. I expect him to be there, and then eventually down the line, I could see myself fighting him, soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does happen. It's one of those times that it'll eventually happen sometime over the next handful of years or whatever. It's one of the things he's on his way up to. So it's one of the things like for some of the people who don't follow the local scene, like over the last 2 years as much talent has come out of the just kind of general area is asinine. There's so much more to come that people don't even really know about. Like, I think we've kind of taken up the upper northeast quadrant here as far as MMA goes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you're not in like the northeast area of the country, you're not really talked about just because of, I guess, the level of talent we have up in the Northeast so much higher than everywhere else. Obviously, I've never fought anyone from the West Coast. I've never traveled out West Coast, but everyone who I've talked to about it saying, that their level of competition isn't that great. Now their, specific skill sets are great. Like they have a lot of good wrestlers out West and everything like that. But we have some of the best wrestlers coming out of high school and college, and let alone PA and New Jersey and in all of the northeast of the country. So there's a reason why we're at the top as far as all like the local.
Yeah, I think we're in a unique position in this area because like we have because obviously PA wrestlers are just when it's talked about nationally, it's probably outside of Ohio wrestlers, it's probably what you talk about. And we're also in the unique position where we are in this area. We have also great jiu-jitsu instructors, and we have a good base of the where the instructors are. It's a you have a good tree in this general area with who it is. So you guys picked that up, and things that you picked up long ago, like you knew were things you kind of had a supplement for when you kind of when you were doing like the low system and you were working with that, doing the bank system and all that. You've known like where you've had to pick up things where areas that maybe not as strong coaching in that area, but you found systems to kind of make things better. And we've obviously seen that with that last one being able to get his lights turned out.
Yep, yeah, that's right. And that's how you become like a better martial artist and MMA fighter, is that if you don't have what you need in the area, you search out what you have to do. Like I didn't really have a good strength and conditioning coach. I was just lifting in my garage, or I was doing stuff at the gym. So I went up, found Rich Polar, my brother, or Powered by Polar over there in Jersey. So I've been, traveling to Jersey 3 or 4 days a week for the past 3 or 4 years now. So it's just, if you want to get to the next level, you have to go. And that's
but now here's the question on that one, Chris. You're in the UFC. Obviously, they have situations where you can go out there and take care of those things where you were just talking about, where you can address those things. You can see what your body is doing with this, that, and the third. Is that something you're probably going to look into to head over to the UFC's institute over there and kind of see where you're gonna be able to kind of fine tune and get better at? Like, I mean, some people think these things like fighters are like cavemen. They only do one thing for the rest of their life, man. You guys are consistently learning just like all of us are. So like it's one of these things where now you have that opportunity. I'm sure you're going to take advantage of heading over there.
Absolutely. And I can't wait. I have to talk to the UFC about setting something up. I'm not sure if they're accepting fighters just with the whole COVID and everything, unless you're actually out there for a fight. So I'll have to reach out to them. But I already talked to, Rich, my strength and conditioning coach. He actually wants me to go out and do that, to get a full workup, to see what my deficiencies are in my nutrition and lifting programs. And then when I'm out there, work with them. And then when I come home, with the family and everything like that, we'll continue to work. They find out.
And you're talking about COVID and your family and everything like that. You're in a really weird position because you have so many things going on, because the fact that you're a police officer, you're a mixed martial arts fighter, you're constantly dealing with the public, you're having so many things going on. Like with everything going on this year, how are you balancing everything out, man? Like just between not just physically but mentally, emotionally, like that has to be weighing on you, brother, at times.
It's always a constant thing. I mean, because I'm interacting with the public on, like you said, every day pretty much. But you just have to take the necessary precautions and protecting yourself and protecting your loved ones, like my family when I come home. My wife's a nurse and she deals with COVID all the time. She's on the COVID floor. So it's nothing new. She knows what she's doing. I know what I'm doing. And then, how we deal with it is, by doing jiu-jitsu or doing MMA, or like, as soon as I'm done this, we're going to the track. We're going to do a workout. We're going to do a sprint workout. My brother's coming. We're doing that. And then my wife's going to be running with the baby. So it's all the little things that you really spend time with the family, making sure that you're grounded and that's pretty much just how you deal with it.
Yeah, man. That's what we got to do. That's what we've been doing, man. Yeah, we've been keeping ourselves busy, doing our thing, man. You remember me when I first started doing this. It was just audio only, just sitting in my room doing it off of my phone. So here we are again. We're all evolving and moving along, man. So we got a lot of things going on over here. The guys are doing a watch party tonight for the Flyers. So make sure you guys tune in tonight, man. We're gonna be talking some Flyers tonight, some live reactions and stuff like that. And speaking of which, we're seeing a lot of fighters kind of get into doing their own shows and media. I was talking to you about like something I was trying to situate with myself. Do you ever think about you and your brother ever kind of like doing your own kind of podcast and type of stuff where you guys can kind of talk about things?
Maybe we could do
it's one of the things I talk about where you guys got to build your own platform as being athletes, right? It's one of the things that kind of goes along with it at this point. Don't you really think?
Yeah. It's definitely something that, you're starting to see more and more. Like I just seen Dan Hooker, he just started a podcast. So it's something that, has been floating around. It's a possibility for us, certainly. We have to be a little bit more interesting than our but we're definitely going to discuss about obviously building not only our individual brand, but our brand as brothers. So it'll definitely be something that we're looking forward to in the future. So
who's more entertaining, you or your brother?
Depends on the situation. People like this, in crowds, he's a little more quiet. But then once you get to know him and everything like that, he's kind of takes over the lead. So it all depends on the situation.
Okay.
I mean, he beat you to the UFC, but I gotta ask, like did when you guys have competitions and growing up, like were you better at like video games and sporting events and stuff like that? Like, how did that whole thing play out? Because you're obviously there's a rivalry there.
Absolutely. Like playing N64, Mario Kart, and Mario Party, everything like that. It was growing up. It was just him. And then same thing with sports. We're playing hockey in the street, we're playing football, whatever. Manhunt, freedom, whatever you want to call it. We're out there playing. It's always a competition. There was never really a competition about who could get to the UFC first. It was more of a like, hey, listen, we're getting to the UFC. It doesn't matter.
It's kind of funny how it happened. It was like literally back to back. Both of you guys get in. Like, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome. It's definitely something we'll remember forever. But I was calling him like when I got the call. Like I said in my post-fight interviews, I got the call at like 2 a.m. And I'm calling him, and he didn't answer. He sleeps with his phone on like silent because his phone's blown up.
Oh, I'm the same way, dude.
So I'm calling. I said, forget about it. I'm just going to bed. 6:30 in the morning, he wakes up. He's like, what's wrong? I was like, nothing, man. I was like, I just wanted to call you and let you know that I got signed by the UFC. And he's like, still half asleep. He's like freaking out. So it was good.
I'm going to sleep. I see you, Kyle.
Pretty much, yeah.
What would be the deal with you guys like ever squaring up and fighting each other? Like if it ever came down to it, would you guys fight in a UFC fight against each other? Like, would that be something you guys would do? I could see that being. I mean, obviously, as brothers, you probably have gotten into fights before, but I could see it being a little bit weird squaring off in the ring doing.
Every Sunday we always fight. It's you can come see who will win that fight. But yeah, definitely. Hold on, I'm sorry, but definitely. Yeah, I mean, we'd have to be talking about a lot of money, but obviously there would be no ill will against him. It would be, just to see who's better. But
in reality, you just have to go down to Martinez if you really want to watch them fight.
just watch us spar or watch us.
I mean, like literally, when it comes to the whole brother matchup thing, like I'm serious. I think I'm with it on Chris. Like we have to be talking about some money.
Yeah,
I'm talking about some stipulations for weight too.
Absolutely. We'll do a catch weight. We'll do 205 catch weight.
Yeah, man. It's one of the things you don't really see a whole lot in sports too. Like where you actually see like actual like blood where it has to play out like that.
Yeah. The Williams sisters, I guess, used to go at it head to head like that in tennis. Do something like that. But yeah, I can see it being weird. Like not wanting to go up against your sibling in that type of competitive environment just because.
Yeah. It's definitely. I mean, you compete against each other in the gym, but ultimately you're competing to get better. You're competing to help him out, and he's helping me out by getting better. But when you're in there, it's different. Like it's 100% different. Like I'm going in there, and it's like I got to feed my kid. Like I got shit to buy. I got bills to pay. Like I'm going in there, and I'm taking what's mine. Like, and I don't think I would ever want that with with him. I mean, even it's like a fantasy matchup or whatever, but sparring, even in sparring or like rolling, like he gets a better position, and then I get heated or he gets upset that I swept him or something like that. It'll just get real crazy real fast.
Especially when blood's involved and you're doing it something as much as what we call physical chess, right?
Absolutely.
So when we're playing physical chess and somebody misses a move or position like that, it gets real heated real quick, especially when it comes to family.
Yeah.
And you even do that with your own training partners to an extent. People tend to forget about that when you're also on the mats. It's like a family as it is, anyways. So.
Yeah, but like I said, it's everyone at the gym is always trying to help get everyone better, and that's even like me helping like the brand new guy. I don't care because I know if I help him, I show that person how to do things correctly. They can be phenomenal at that, and I could suck at that, and they could show me maybe a little details or anything like that would help me out in my next fight or whatever I'm doing next. So.
And speaking of which, that UFC heavyweight division has been kind of getting a whole lot of influx of new blood lately. Obviously, we're going to, DC is gone. We don't know how much more time we got with State Bay. Obviously, we'll probably have another year or two.
Yeah, probably.
What are your thoughts on all, a lot of how the things are going to play out moving forward? Like, where do you see this division going? Do you see a lot of this new blood kind of taking over within the next 2 years or so and changing out of these names that we kind of know as of right now?
Yeah, it's kind of like a change in the guard. You got a few people who are some of the old timers, not really old timers, but guys who've been in there long. Like Alistair, he says this is probably his final run title if he can make it past Sakai, I think, tonight.
Yeah.
And I guess you could use that. You can use that matchup as a perfect example. Sakai's a new up and coming guy, and Alistair's kind of on the way out. Not really on the way out, but he's the older guy. So I think it's UFC.
That was his third decade as a it's crazy, right?
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
Definitely crazy to think about. But yeah, I mean, the UFC is signing a bunch of new heavyweights, which a lot of the heavyweights can do like a lot more things that they couldn't do before, just being super athletic and everything like that. So it's definitely going to be super exciting to see what we can do in the future and what different skill sets I'll have to deal with and what every other heavyweight is going to have to deal with me, particularly.
And what do you say, Chris? One fight at a time until we get that belt, right?
That's it. One fight at a time. Can't be looking too far down the road. You control 200 feet in front of you, and that's it.
Exactly. Well, you're getting used to having to control 200 feet in front of you as it is anymore, right?
That's it. That's all you can do.
Hey, Zach, you got anything you want to you want to end with before we let Christopher kind of run away with the rest of the afternoon?
When you're fighting, is there a particular fight style? Like, would you prefer the fight go to a certain direction, like a ground game? Like what would be your preferred fight style? Throughout the course of a match.
I think I have better hands than 75 to 85% of the heavyweight division currently. So obviously, I would just like to keep the fight standing, but I'm more than comfortable going anywhere. I mean, it is MMA for. I train everything, so I would feel more comfortable standing up. But obviously, you get taken down, you got to work off your back, you got to get up, you got to switch positions. But I like knocking people out. Obviously, I can tell from our last fight. I don't get paid by the minute in there, so it's easier to punch something in the face, watch it fall down, and walk out with a pocket full of cash, and it is to be trading punches for 15, 20 minutes. So.
But
that's a great point.
Yeah, man. It's but Chris, before we let you go, you know what I always kind of do, kind of flip it over to you. Anyone you would like to thank, give any love to, give some love to your sponsors, management, anything like that. Anything you want to say?
Sure.
Time is yours.
Management, Hector Castro for hooking me up with the UFC deal. I greatly appreciate that, and you guys for having me on. My wife, Kelly, and my son Coop, who's you probably can hear in the background right now, freaking out. Everyone at Martinez BJJ, thank you guys for all the support and all the ass beatings over the years to get to level. I greatly appreciate that. And then just the sponsors, everyone from A&M Fleet to Lucky Clouds and everyone like that. G Fuel, everything. Of course, you guys are the best, and I can't wait to, keep winning and keep putting on better shows.
Hey man, I have no doubt you're going to continue to do that, Chris. As I say to you, best of skill as always. Appreciate your time as always. Big thanks to you from all the guys over here at A2D. Tom was already in the chat room thanking you for your this afternoon. And also, man, on top of that, the service, man, you know how I always feel about that. I don't believe that every cop's bad. I don't believe that everything people say is what it is. You know how I feel about you guys. Keep doing your thing. Keep yourself safe, man.
Always.
We'll link up again and have you back on here again in the future, man.
Perfect. All right, guys.
Good afternoon, man. Love you. Keep safe.
See you.
Thank you, man.
Thanks again. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. That was UFC Heavyweight Christopher Daukus. Also the protector of our city here in Philadelphia, being a police officer and all, man. He has a lot on his plate, man. He's him and his brother, man. They're making a name for themselves already. They've been doing it here in the local scene for the last few years, and we're gonna see a lot more from that family, from these guys. They do it. We have a lot of fighters in this area that not a whole lot of people really know a whole lot about, because not a whole lot of people really cover combat sports the way it should be. It's not for everybody. Just like boxing isn't for everybody. Just like hockey isn't for everybody. We all have our cup of tea. But before we're gonna flip into the football thing, because me and Zach want to touch on some football issues real quick. I'm gonna say what I said because I didn't really get it on the Tyronne Lue thing because Chris came on. And again, stay tuned for after our game, because we have 5 reaction shows for the Flyers game. Make sure you guys are on tonight. Seriously, make sure you tune in tonight. Should be fun. The guys are going to have a blast. We're going to keep. I have a
feeling one way or another, there is going to be something that is going to be can't miss during that show from a reaction standpoint, good or bad. We could have some hugging and a lot of brotherly love going on, with the Flyers win, but
broken hearts.
There could be some headsets flying and some curses, being words being thrown out there that are not safe for your children to hear. So it's probably going to be a can't miss show one way or another.
Of course, Tom, we are the best. There's no doubt about it anymore. You can argue all you want. You can say all you want. You can pick at numbers. Oh, this doesn't happen. No.
Tom says things can get
prepared, so everyone can just stop, quit while you're ahead. But I digress. I'm not going to be tooting my horn all afternoon. Let's go Flyers. Tyronne Lue. It's not true. I hope we find someone. If that's the choice, I would rather in-house. I don't know. But anyways, Zach wanted to touch on some NFL stuff since we're 5 days away from the first game or something like that.
Well, and some big things have broken here within the past 24 hours, hell, even less than that.
Roster changes, cuts, releases.
I used to try.
Dealing with a lot of stuff with the Andre Dillard's injury. We don't have our Hall of Fame.
Tom's already fired up.
Look at it. Look who was just released. There are Howie's picks. Howie's hands is all over the stuff.
It is a huge problem.
Shaq Griffin, gone.
It's a huge problem that he has not been able to draft. We bring up Miles Sanders and Zach Ertz and Dallas got it great. All those guys, who knows how many of those guys were actually his picks and how many weren't. But
how many were Joe's?
Exactly how many of them were actually Joe Douglas's. But the bottom line is, when it just comes down to it, you look at championship teams. Forget about the bad organizations, because anybody can be a bad organization. Okay, me and you could own a football team and be a bad organization.
Apparently, it doesn't take much to own anything anymore because the Rock.
Me and you could run an organization, and it could be a bad organization. Anybody could do that. Okay, but look at the good organization.
Not holding his feelings back about how
he wants Howie gone. Now, I'm kind of with nerd. Tommy hates these nerds that run things. I'm feeling me and Tommy might want Howie gone for different reasons because I kind of understand why these moves have been made. My problem with Howie, though, is the fact that every good organization in football finds a way to find impact players and guys that help the team win and guys that end up being impact players for them in these mid to late rounds. The third, the fourth, the fifth rounds, they find guys that end up being starters on their teams that contribute and make plays and do things for that team to help them win football games. And we suck at drafting in the third. I mean, we just suck at drafting in the middle round.
Well, I'm already sitting there saying, like, listen, Tommy's sitting there beating on that drum. Like, he can't draft anymore. He cannot take the keys away from the draft board. Go back into crunching numbers on that aspects of it. Have somebody teach him how to do it or something like that. He cannot waste another year's worth of draft picks anymore.
It's one thing. It's one thing to not.
He's thrown enough of them away to try to fix other problems. It's enough.
That's the problem. It's not. It'd be one thing if you drafted a guy and he didn't end up being what you thought he would be, but he still contributed and was a player for you that helped you win football games in some way. We're literally swinging and missing on guys in the mid rounds, literally just swinging a miss on some that doesn't even see the field. Donnell Pumphrey doesn't even fucking play it down in the NFL. I mean, it's some of the worst fucking. It's one thing the draft guy doesn't work out. It's a whole other level. What's going on with
other teams off of their practice squads, and then that's how we get the good off of other team practice squads, not off of our own drafting. Boston Scott ain't had nothing to do with the Philadelphia Eagles. We didn't have any play in that. That was you going cherry picking someone else's practice squad, finding a gem because having to fix one of your freaking mistakes. That's a Band-Aid over another problem that you made.
Because you don't draft well. And what's so crazy to me is, we see teams stumble on guys by accident in the mid rounds. He was there and we said, fuck it, we like his skill set. We took a shot on him. Oh wow, he accidentally becomes a superstar. We can't even accidentally hit on a guy. It's so ridiculous. You know how impossible it is to accident?
The accidental hits is guys that shouldn't have been drafted where they've been drafted, but they just overperform and keep them around.
But my point is, it's almost impossible. You can almost hit on a guy in the mid rounds by accident. Whoops, we found this, we hit on this guy by accident and he became a great player. Nobody thought anything of it. We just liked his skills, and it's just totally by accident that you hit on somebody. We can't even accidentally hit on somebody. It's amazing that Howie has kept this job for this long, and the Super Bowl was obviously helped him keep it for a little bit longer. But we've refused to acknowledge the fact that drafting his entire career.
Let me give him the fact of you put that Super Bowl on him. You can't.
It's not right. But anytime you win a Super Bowl, it's going to buy you a little bit more time.
When you look at the drafts, and Tommy just sat there and said what it is. As of right now, $64 million over the cap, and combine it with the draft picks. Yes, we're in a whole sheep mound full.
But that's another problem. Why did that happen? Why does that happen? Because we sucked at drafting so bad. We were so fucking terrible at drafting that we put ourselves in a position where we had to keep going out and getting better in guys, and we kept sitting here and pushing back money and pushing back guaranteed money.
As we're sitting here saying that the Super Bowl gave him grace, it's been 3 years.
Well, that's what happened.
Same roster.
No, I completely agree. I'm not saying he gets extra, but the way the business works almost in any sport is if you go and win something like that, it seems to buy you a couple extra years as a coach or GM, anything. My problem with that is, you said it was 2017.
You could still have a part of this team, but you cannot. I can no longer, as much as I love of what he has done for this team and what he has meant to this organization, I can no longer sit here and give him a pass. We've done it too long. We've done it with too many other things. And look at the problem that is about to be facing us because we have allowed him this leash because he accidentally fell into some good things that happened. We put the players on the field, put it together and put a championship together, but he still hasn't helped this team win.
Well, I think the one thing he does really well is manage cap, which is great. He can do that from some little fucking suite next in Jeffrey Lurie.
It's been 3.
I agree. I agree. I agree with your point where you talk about the Super Bowl being 2017. Right. So this is now the 3rd year after that. So this is like to me now, like this is it. Like this is your show up or like, you know, this is the make or break year for him. You had,
but also if you go and look at it, the only reason why it was sustained success after the Super Bowl isn't because of anything that he had done for this team. It was because of the players putting it on their back, willing to go to the playoffs.
Yes. But how
he has handicapped this team at every turn.
Yeah, by hooking us up with bad contracts like the one Alshon's going to have going into next year. But the one thing he's at least proven capable of throughout his career that he's better at than almost anybody else, it seems like, in football is finding different ways to, you know, help with your cap situation. But that doesn't make somebody a GM. Every team has a cap guy, somebody that's in charge of their cap. He can go run my cap or help be in charge of my cap from Jeffrey Lurie's suite. If we let's say we hire him as GM, is somebody really hiring him? Do we really think somebody's going to hire him?
His contract with us, he can just have a different title and be doing different things.
Exactly. If you like him that much, which Jeffrey Lurie clearly does, elevate him to some like assistant to the owner role where it feels like a promotion. He just gets to sit next to you like your little puppet, and we can have all that, and you can be happy, Jeffrey, and I can actually have a real GM that's calling the shot. And you know what makes me actually sick about the whole Howie Roseman thing is initially, before Chip Kelly got there, when Andy Reid was still there, there was 2 guys that, you know, Howie Roseman was the one guy that was in charge, was helping run personnel, and Louis Riddick was the other guy that was here. That was one of the personnel people. And Louis Riddick left and took the ESPN job because the Eagles decided to give Howie Roseman the GM job full time, and said he's going to be the full time GM. And to be honest, Louis Riddick is a guy that, like, it seems like he's been interviewed for every GM job that's been open over the past few years. He just like decides, I'm not taking that shitty job because it's a shitty job, and I'm not gonna put myself in that position. But like Louis Riddick's a guy that actually was a true personnel guy, played in the NFL, was in this organization. He would have never been in this position with Howie Roseman.
Bring that one up, Ralphie. This comment from YouTube. We should go and look how other teams are ran and be thanking God for Howie.
No, stop.
All right, go look at other teams' drafts and see and find me how many teams have hit on those mid to late rounds and go back and look at those Eagles drafts. Listen, as we've given Howie his credit, we're thanking God for some of the things he's done. He does good things. We have not discredit him for that. But the fact that we should be thanking God for him more or less handicapping this team both with bad draft picks, with bad contracts on older players who have been injured. You're telling me I should be thanking him. What should I be thanking him for?
I'm caught up.
Let me know what I should be thanking to, because not all teams draft well. You're absolutely correct. Not all teams do draft well. But all teams do. Once in a blue moon hit.
Yeah.
Go back and look at his drafts. They are historically horrendous. Please.
But this idea
open to the discussion at any point in time, but please don't be sitting there telling me I need to be thanking God for him right now. I am thanking God for him for I'm not for nothing. For the past is the past. We are over. We are past it. We're past the honeymoon. We're well into the relationship. We know what we're looking at this point in time. We credit him for what he's done, but we're not going to let him
past that honeymoon phase, right, Steven? We're talking about we're to the point in the relationship where we're thinking about putting a ring on it, and we need to decide whether we're going to spend the rest of our lives with this person or not. Okay, do I want to spend the rest of my life till I'm old and ugly and just like a complete shell of the person I used to be? Like, do I want to die with this person? No, I don't. And I mean, it's been too much without. We've seen Howie now under 2 different regimes. We saw him with Andy running things, or supposedly running things, and we've seen him with Doug Peterson have all the control as far as personnel goes. And the one time when he didn't have all the control, when Joe Douglas was here, was the one draft that you look at and say, wow, that was a pretty good draft with some of the guys that came out of that draft. But, you know, what's driving me crazy about that, well, most teams don't draft well. Bullshit. Most bad teams don't draft well. Bad organizations don't draft well. Hell, even some of the bad organizations draft well, and that's the only thing they do well is draft. They do nothing else well. But
Don got one for you, Zach.
This whole idea that organizations don't draft well, the Ravens are one of the best organizations in football. Why? Because every single year they find a way to hit on
they
draft.
3 guys they get out of every draft that play more than 3 to 5 seasons for them. Go look at our draft. There's maybe a handful that make it past 3.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right, so Don got one for us. All right. So he wants to know, do we think Jimmy Butler will make it to the NBA Finals? At this point in time, how can you say that, boy? What's stopping him?
Yeah, I mean, that Heat team is
a man on a mission.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler, we'll obviously talk about him because he's falling out.
So making Elton Brand look so bad right now.
He didn't want to be here. He wasn't going to sign here because he knew what was going. Why would a guy like Jimmy Butler doesn't want to play in this environment? See, winners recognize winning environments.
I think what it was is he basically anywhere where he's seen bad front office, he's just I don't want no parts of it. He gets
I think
he got to Minnesota. He's looking over. He's like, listen, I'm not. You can't deal.
And they're a losing organization.
Then he gets sent to Philadelphia, and he was like, listen.
Losing organization.
He's like, listen, they got a great. I can't deal with what's going on up there. I don't know what to tell you.
I think it's more of an attitude thing for him because that guy. When you just look at Jimmy Butler as the player that he is, he's a bulldog. He's a competitor, right? That competitive fire in him is always burning. It never seems to go out. That's what drives him is winning. And I think guys like that, they immediately. I mean, it doesn't take long for them to smell bullshit. They can sense right away. Whether you're committed to winning, and whether what you talk about as far as, it's one thing to say you're committed to winning. It's another thing to actually be committed to winning. And I think guys like him are able to sense who's actually committed to winning and who just says they're committed to winning very, very quickly. He walks into an environment in an organization and he figures out right away whether this team is actually got it and they understand the attitude and what the mindset that it takes to go be a winner, or whether they don't. And if you don't have that mindset and you don't understand what it takes to be a winner and you don't got the right attitude, he's out. He wants nothing to do with it. He's not going to waste his time playing for a loser. And I think that's ultimately Jimmy Butler because of the competitive fire that he has. That's why he said Miami's the perfect. He didn't waste a second thinking about that decision. Miami or Philly, it's Miami. You've got Eric Spoelstra there, who's a guy a coach that's a proven winner. And he's become their alpha male, definitely without question. He's become their alpha male. But when you look at that roster, I mean, they've got a good roster. Like that's a roster that's capable of winning a championship. Yeah. Bam Adebayo has been one of the most improved players in basketball. They've got the 2 they called them the new Splash Brothers the other day. Whoever it was, I think it was Klay Thompson came out and called them the new Splash Brothers. Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. I mean, they've got spot up shooters, which is something you need. They've got a little bit of everything, and then they've got a guy that's a killer in Jimmy Butler, and you need a guy that's a killer come playoff time. So, I mean, it's easy to talk about him and just what he is, but that whole team is impressive. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if they went to the NBA Finals. And, I thought about, 2 weeks ago when the NBA playoffs got started, that there wasn't a team from the Eastern Conference that had anything or had enough to compete with somebody from the Western Conference. And I'm starting to change my mind on that because I think Miami could I think they could definitely give a series to anybody from the West. Houston, LA, no matter who it is. I think Miami could give them a series. And wouldn't it be what a fun little series it would be if it was Miami and the Lakers in the NBA Finals and you've got Spoelstra still there and there's all that, people are going to be talking a lot about how LeBron at one point played in Miami and the whole, situation that was there. And, that's a little bit of a fun idea to think that, you've got that whole matchup for an NBA championship. I would say in the Eastern Conference, you'd have to say the Heat right now are the favorite to go to the finals. Which is
playing basketball right now. You can't sit there and say anything else.
Yeah, it's hard. It would be hard to say anybody is better than them at the moment.
At least in the Eastern Conference, but like I said, we'll have to see that one. That was a good one, Don. We have Anthony back. He's soft the first time he got fired. He's soft. Nothing's changed.
How he's soft the first time.
I think we beat up Howie enough. I know there's a couple other things Zach wanted to go over. There were some cuts of some bigger name players, not only on our rosters, on other rosters around the league. You had Jack Griffin was released by the Seattle Seahawks. He was, a fairly touted,
He'd probably be the best linebacker on the team if we signed him.
Obviously, we've seen a few running backs get released over here over the last 48 hours. Adrian Peterson is kind of one of those names that has just recently been put out there. And I think Mr. Burr is partial to Adrian AP joining us and having some wings put on his helmet. So let's hear your case for this one, Mr. Burr.
I mean, I'm just trying to be logical here. Now, this isn't like let me start with like it's not like some type of like weird like personal fantasy conspiracy theory type of thing. I'm just trying to connect the dots with these moves. We're obviously going to be in cap hell starting next year. Next year is a really, really bad situation for us cap-wise. I think that's why you saw the report that we're actively trying to shop Alshon Jeffrey now. I think they would take a new bag of footballs for him. I really did. They'd be like, give us a bag of footballs. Give us a bag of footballs and like some new like China and
but if you can find a team that needs a wide receiver and maybe we're on the
give me a 7th round pick.
A 3rd or a 4th round draft pick for him.
I really don't think you're getting a 3rd or 4th for him, and I really think they would part with him like a 6th round pick. I really think they would be with how banged up he is. I would love to get a 3rd or a 4th round. I think the team's like take his contract, give us a 6th round pick, and we'll be happy to just give away his contract to you. Like really, like we'll just take the 6th round pick and it is what it is. But I think part of like
but also at the same time you have to send him somewhere where he's going to want to play. You know what I mean?
You don't got to send you send him somewhere that takes a stupid contract. That's what you send him. Enough with this blind loyalty bullshit. We just talked about the Super Bowl being 3 years ago. Fuck you. Send you somewhere you want to play. You're going to go somewhere that wants to take your stupid contract and you'll be happy. How about that? Okay. But anyway, I'm not surprised that Sidney Jones and what's the other scrub's name? Rasul Douglas. Sidney and Rasul both got cut today. We heard that Sidney was struggling in camp. What's shocking about it, this is how bad these guys got to be. We were trying to find trade partners to trade Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas, and nobody wanted them. We couldn't even find somebody that wanted to give us a bag of football for those two clowns, and we expected somebody to trade Alshon Jeffrey to. But we cut them in what I would think would be an effort to clear up a little bit of cap space for this year. Not necessarily worried about next year. You're worried about next year, with contracts that will affect that, like the Alshon contract. But you wouldn't just cut these guys just because. You would have to think there's a plan. Like we're freeing up this money for a reason. So are they going to go get Cordy Glenn? Are they like have they targeted Cordy Glenn and they say, hey, this is how much money we're going to need to sign him? We got to free that up. Have they targeted Griffin, like you've talked about from Seattle? We both talked about we would like the idea of signing Griffin. I know you said that would be your top target here. I'm a little bit different there because as much as I would like Griffin, I don't think the organization values linebackers like that as we do.
So I totally agree with you there. I mean, it's who. I mean, I like them coming out of the draft as one of a later round picks as it was anyways, because I think we need an infusion of some type of leadership from that.
He's a good attitude guy. He's got that winning attitude.
Like Gary or Camus or any of these guys that we've already have on the roster who have shown us something that they're not capable. It's just that it's another look for them, and I agree with you to the extent that picking up a guy like AP would kind of fill a hole to make sure that you're in a secure situation for somebody you can count on from 15 to 20 carries a game to kind of give us a different pace there. And with what you already going on with Miles, with Boston, and those guys there,
that would be my big thing.
We still don't know what we're going to get out of Corey Clement, regardless of what everyone says how good he looks during camp.
So if Miles Sanders gets banged up, and you have to
go back to Don. Here you go. Listen, so why did Chicago make the trade for Nick Foles but still start Mitchell Trubisky? Because we've been telling you guys all along.
Nick Foles stinks.
No, he doesn't stink. He got his lightning in a bottle and he made his absolute most for it. He works well with certain systems that plays to certain things. And
he can't sustain that. Even so,
I don't know what to sit there and say at this point in time because Mitchell Trubisky is about 3 throws away from becoming a bust.
Foles will be the starter by week 6 probably anyway.
I'm with him there, but he's also one of these guys that, it's also he's in a new environment. I think it's also kind of one of those situations. As much as we like to make fun of the situation,
QB coach. I mean, he's really
now. I also think that Chicago feels they owe him, like we were just talking about that loyalty thing.
They got to give Trubisky one more shot.
Let him lose the job, not to just take it from him.
That's a good point. Now
we already heard it was heated. It was tight. It wasn't like it was an easy situation for him to do. So it's obviously that there's we'll see if Nick does what he normally does is win over a locker room, let this guy perform himself out of the starting spot. And like I said, I always kind of felt like they would be an 8-8, 9-17, regardless of anything. If they can get
they'll be lucky to do that
and see what happens, you never know. Because I mean, they still have a decent running game. They still have some decent, a decent defense, and they can still make something happen. Nick Foles is a veteran guy, so you never know what's going to happen. But if Mitchell Trubisky is starting 16 games for the Chicago Bears this season, Nick Foles needs to reconsider everything.
Now, let me ask you this, okay? Because I know I'm going to segue into what we talked about before the show about your theory, what they might do with the offensive line here. But Cordy Glenn obviously is probably an upgrade at the left tackle position if they're going to keep Jason Peters at right guard. So if they targeted Cordy Glenn and they say we need this money to sign him, I'm cool with that. I think that's a solid signing. But the AP thing for me, like, be honest with me. There's no way you can tell me if Sanders gets banged up, he gets hurt, has to miss a few games, if you have to limit his workload because of, he's banged up with injuries, whatever, there's no way you can tell me you now trust Boston Scott and Corey Clement to carry that workload. I know I don't. So I'd much rather bring in a guy like AP who, one, I think he's going to be very intrigued with the idea of he knows Philly probably is going to be a pretty competitive football team. We probably have a pretty good chance to be one of the better teams in the NFC. He's got a chance to definitely contribute. He's got a main role here. He's the clear number 2 running back, and you're going to clearly find ways to try to get him the ball in situations 3rd and 1, short yardage situations like that. And I think he's in a situation here where you can play him and Sanders on the field at the same time because we know we're going to want to use Sanders in the passing game a lot. I feel like it's a signing that makes a ton of sense. As much as I love the idea of Glenn at left tackle and an upgrade from Pryor, I think I would much rather prefer bringing in another back. And I've been saying this all offseason. There hadn't really been a lot there outside of like the Carlos Hyde types. And you're like, it doesn't really excite me. Adrian Peterson to me is he's a perfect fit for this offense. We need a guy that's a downhill runner, and that's what he does specifically. He's a downhill runner to go along with the versatility of Sanders.
You need your sledgehammer. Point blank and period. You need your sledgehammer. You need your short yardage guy who can get you yards, and you're going to need that factor. The simple fact that, like you said, we're going to kind of segue into kind of what's going on with this. What we kind of feel what's going to happen with this offensive line situation. Well, how do you hide having bad offensive line, especially on your quarterback's blind side? Good running. Well, if you're going to have to situate that, so like where I don't necessarily agree that I think that AP will be here, I do think they need a hammer. I think they need to kind of be a lot more balanced than they have been in previous years, especially being a little bit more diligent running the ball and giving a chance to let the running game work. So you're going to have to hide that, and the only way to do it is running the ball, man. So we're going to have to see what plays out. I mean, I'm not going to be against it if AP signs a contract here and he's going to be our wrecking ball for the season. I'm fine with that. I'm good. But moving forward, everyone's been talking about, they're being upset at Jason Peters not moving to left tackle. He wants more money. Obviously, the left tackle is a premier position for the offensive lineman. I can't argue with that, man, because you can only make your money so long in this game. I know he's made a lot of money, he signed big. Listen, that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not gonna that. That's what he wants. That's what he wants.
He's probably in a better position playing right guard than he is left tackle. A lot more pressure on him.
On the other side of things is then you're gonna leave some unbalanced things because you don't know what you've really got getting from having either Matt Pryor or one of these other kids.
or somebody like that.
You do know that Matt Pryor is a better guard than he is a tackle. We know that for sure. And me and you were talking about just things that we watched with this team, and maybe there's a reason that they're keeping him on that right side. Is the simple fact that when you go and look at it, when Carson throws the best is when he's moving to that side of the field. It's not he's not moving off to the left. He's looking like this amazing quarterback. They've already moved it over to the right side. They already play where when Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson on that side, that's where they've really pushed to where that line really is.
He only seems to move
Kelsey, down. And then when you already have Kelsey, Peters, and Lane. I mean, I already feel that it's going to everything's going to go to the right side of that line this season. That's the way that I see it playing out.
Move the pocket that way. And, I love that. That is something I've been screaming for over the past couple years is, I think they like last year we really saw it. They were so focused early on in the year on trying to force Carson to be a pocket passer. Stay in the pocket, do your 3 to 5 step drop, get the ball out to the right guy. And then that's not what the guy is. You drafted a guy with the second pick with a dynamic skill set because that's what he is as a player. So you build around what he is as a player, not the other way around. You don't make the player adjust to what you want. You adjust to what the player is. Baltimore's done that perfectly with Lamar Jackson.
Joseph said he seems like it's a rebuild trying to shed Alshon's contract, releasing Jones and Douglas. We're $90 million over the cap next year, have no linebackers, no left tackle.
Yeah. Right. That's why I don't think it's a rebuild. I think it's a retool. I think Howie's doing everything he possibly can to find a way to shed all of these bad contracts while still trying to find a way to keep.
Why wouldn't you signed him, Anthony? I get it. Everyone wants to go his age, his injuries. He's on and off the field. He's not going to have to worry about jumping to get in front of these giant these speedsters that he has to get his big mitts on.
That's what I'm talking about.
He literally all he's going to do is have to feel Lane move. Once he feels Lane move, whoa.
And he's got Kelsey and Lane on each side of him. So he's got two great, players on each side of him in the line, and then he's great as well. So I mean, they're really going to be able to. I said, that's why I didn't mind him playing the guard position, and I really don't mind him not moving either.
Whoever you get to play over there is whoever you're going to get there. If you get something out of Jordan Mailata or whoever, and it sucks that you let Vitae go. I think when he's playing with the Lions or somebody like that.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's where this hurts, and that's where having those utility offensive linemen is starting to look like it's going to hurt this team moving forward. So I mean, I really don't know what you want to see.
A lot of one of the other things you could do outside of moving the pocket that you've talked about is you could see a lot of pulls. You could try to pull guys from if you're trying to get extra protection to your left side. There's protection packages you can run.
Saying Kelsey's 50-50 retiring after every offseason.
Yeah, I mean, he probably is. He's at that point in his career, which is fine. I mean, that's good for him. I mean,
and that's the other thing you have to think about too. Like the only one who's young enough to probably be here for at least the next few years of this era is probably Lane Johnson on that offensive line. He's the only young enough. Kelsey will probably have to draft his replacement, if not this draft, in the next one. I mean, you have a lot of retooling to do, Zachary.
Yeah, well, of course you got a lot of it. It's easy to look at it and say, "Oh, they're doing a rebuild." I don't think they would commit to a rebuild. They're not in a position to do that. You've got a quarterback that's right in his prime. Here's your window to win. You've got to try to find a way. As bad of a situation it is, you have no choice. You have to try to find a way to retool. You can't rebuild, especially when you suck at drafting. So you have no choice but to do everything you can to find a way to shed these bad contracts and retool as best as you possibly can. And then hope that guys like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, like a guy like that actually taking a step forward this year and looking like a legitimate NFL wide receiver would be huge. Hitting on a guy like Jalen Reagor would be huge. That really helps with your ability to then trade a guy like Zach Ertz next offseason and shed yourself of that contract because now you have confidence that Goddard can be that guy at tight end. You have two receivers in Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor that at least can be a 1-2, and now you can find a 3, a 4, and a 5. There's some things that hopefully best case scenario, a couple of these young guys that you've had over the past couple of years, if they take that next step, as much as we love to hate on JJ Arcega-Whiteside last year, let's not be idiots here. We need that kid to take a step forward. We need that kid to be an NFL wide receiver. We need him to be able to make, show the remnants of at least some sort of playmaker. We need that for for this team's sake. So, hitting on the kid because of what he did last year.
Just gives me a red zone presence to big body to kind of, he needs to do something, but.
Be a red zone target. Give me 50 catches for, 800 yards. Give me something like that. Show me something, Be a guy that Carson can count on third down when it's 3rd and 6. We need somebody. We need a big reception in 8 yards, and you're that guy because you're a big body guy that can, get open in space in the middle of the field and just get us that first down. I don't need you to be a superstar. I just need you to be a competent NFL wide receiver. Be a possession guy.
We got Joseph calling out Barnett too. He's maybe in week 4 our second round pick could prove how we're right. And then outside of 2 big plays, Barnett hasn't been on the field enough to been worth a top pick either. Talking about that one,
I mean. We rotate so many guys on that defensive line that I don't listen. It's not like what was the guy supposed to be. We like nobody was like I don't think he was. We expected him to come in and be a 15 sack a year guy. Like the guy is what he is. He's a solid pass rusher. He's made some big plays for us in big situations. We rotate guys at that position so much anyway. He's probably not going to see enough snaps to ever go be a guy that gets you 12 to 15 sacks. I mean, I'm not. I would be thrilled if Barnett gave me more, but I'm also not like upset with his production, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like
he's not the one that's out there on the passing downs, anyways. That's normally what they do with you see Sweat out there and the mother guy.
And Josh Sweat's somebody that if you're talking about people that I'm looking to take a step forward, that kid had more sacks than Jadeveon Clowney last year in like half the snaps. Like if you want to look at positive, some things from young guys, like Sweat's a kid. I don't know if he's, what he's going to be in the running game or anything like that, but he at least showed pass rushing ability, and we're so deep at the defensive line to begin with. A guy like that, I mean, I'm very, very happy with the production we get from all those guys. I just think a guy like Sweat, he could step forward. If he gets me close to 8 sacks this year, that's a hell of a year for a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm completely okay with the production we get there. I'm just more worried about us staying healthy. If too many of those guys go down, then there was no point of us bulking up at that position.
Well, listen, if Rager steps up, if we get the receivers we got the last few years, it doesn't, it makes the sting on the other misses and cuts a little less. But at the end of the day, man, it's rough sledding right now, and we have to see how
because we've got a bunch of young draft picks that look like they're all bust.
I mean, let me ask you, man, where are you feeling on this team right now, moving forward, looking at the way it is, look at how it's playing out,
Well, one thing I've learned about this team over the past few years is it's definitely a resilient bunch. I think that starts with Doug Peterson. I always say this about NFL head coaches. I get in these arguments with people all the time because they want to talk about certain things that they don't like about head coaches. And they bitch about play calling and things like that. I can find somebody like if my head coach's play calling gets bad enough, I can always find somebody.
DB says we're
call plays.
We're not deep on the edge, but we're deep in the interior for sure from DB.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I lost my train of thought. Remind me what I was talking about.
But no, I definitely feel him there, like where he feels we're deeper on the interior. But we also we have guys that rotate from the edge that come on the inside, a la Barnett, a la Brandon Graham. So that's why it doesn't.
We've got guys that can do a lot. But what was the question you asked me? Go ahead and ask your question again. What was the question?
What do you feel on this team for the season? The prediction you were, where you were going with.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel as if we're going to be okay. We're going to compete for the division title, 10, 11 games, somewhere in that area. I think we should be slightly better than last year because I think we're a slightly better football team. So I'm right in the 10 or 11 win areas. But I always, my head coaching point that I thought was a good point why I really wanted to get it out there was, you can find a coach, an assistant that can call plays for you or something like that. What you can't find is somebody, you're either a great leader of men or you're not. And Doug Peterson's a great leader of men, and that's something that he's proven in his time as a head coach. He understands how to be a great leader of men. And to me, that's the most important quality an NFL head coach can have, because that's irreplaceable. I can find somebody, if Doug Peterson's play calling gets bad enough, I can find somebody to call plays for me. But I can't find somebody that can. My head coach is either a great leader of men or he's not, and Doug Peterson's that guy. So I think we're always going to be competitive no matter what. You saw that last year with all the injuries and practice squad guys. We still found a way to grind it out at the end of the year and get to that 9-win total and win the division. So I expect the same this year.
That's probably where I'm at. In between 10, 11, have a game here and there. See how it happens.
If some of those young guys that we talked about,
how that offensive line plays, how that defense is going to play, and what the health issue is going to be on this team. We can't dismiss that. We really cannot dismiss that. So, as much as we want to sit there and say, like, we want to leave our predictions with thinking this is going to be a healthy team, and we can't deny the fact that injury list is already has more than a handful of names on it.
It's not good this early, is it? Not good.
DB wants to see Malik Jackson on the edge this year. Imagine a line with Brandon Graham, Cox, Hargrove, and Jackson in the last 2 minutes of a fourth quarter holding the lead. Hey, man, that's a nightmare for some offensive linemen.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we know the defensive line is good. I'm not worried about the defensive line. That's the least of my worries.
Is what we're going to get out of from the linebackers? What are we going to get out of our secondary? What are we going to,
One of the things we haven't brought up that we probably should.
Is we need key turnovers this year. What has been missing from the defense the last few years is getting
100%. Yeah.
It hasn't happened. We haven't had somebody. I don't even think we've had somebody have more than 5 interceptions in a season for more than the last handful of years.
It just seems like we the past few years in general, the Super Bowl year, it seemed like we didn't have a ton of turnovers, but we got timely turnovers.
Yeah, but not just timely ones. It was the ones that hurt the most. It would be like you would get one and it's a pick six.
The fumble in the Super Bowl.
Then get it back and you 3-8 at them, and then you go put another score on the board, regardless if it was an Elliott field goal or them putting it back in the end zone again. You found ways to hurt teams to put them away. You have to be able to do that again, and hopefully with what you have with Mills being back there and Kavion being able to kind of
and we're probably going to have to assume that Jalen's going to play more corner now. Mills is probably going to see,
like we were talking,
a lot more time at corner now. We would have to think.
You just have to get more plays out of your playmakers on both sides of the ball, and we need to get back to hurting teams with our special teams.
Yeah, that would help. It always helps to get some big plays from your special team.
You got to think, with a healthy Deshaun, having some things we're seeing, hopefully, Doug and the boys are writing some fun plays up, and we've also been hearing this with some throwing plays involving Greg Ward. I've been calling for it. He was a former quarterback for a reason. You had that type of belief in your team. Make it happen, man. How you like to do that.
I'm a fan of the creativity like that. I think one of the things
that do that jet sweep, instead of doing the jet sweep, actually act like you're going to do the jet sweep, and instead of moving the offensive lineman past the line of scrimmage, just having them shift back over and having them throw a bomb, 50 yards down the field to make a big play when you're trying to make a momentum shift in the game. It's not saying it's something you should see all the time, but to hear stuff like that, to see what some of the things you have in the team, knowing they have a guy like Hurts laying around there too, doesn't. It's not that.
That's what you could see him in situation like the same place they're practicing with Greg Ward. They could realistically do with Hurts.
They just have to be healthy, and they have to produce and being able to put it all together, guys. They're capable of being a top seed in this conference. It's up to them to be healthy and to win the tight games and take care of your divisional games. You take care of that. We'll see what happens when it comes down to January.
We're talking about Sidney and Rasul getting released. The one thing I still look at that secondary is Darius Slay and Roby Coleman are still. I mean, for what they're supposed to be, those are still supposed to be two studs, right? You're still supposed to have two studs back there. Darius
and
you
still got what? You still got Cravion and
Avante Maddox and Cravon LeBlanc. So there's going to be pretty much there's your four main corners is Darius Slay, Avante Maddox will probably play on the outside along with LeBlanc out there, and then Roby Coleman's probably going to play specifically in the slot because he's been an elite slot corner.
Outbreak. I don't think we're going to have COVID stopping football, but let's see what happens come January, guys.
I'm still very we have a little bit less depth, but you know what? Maybe it turns out to be a better thing that Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas aren't a part of that rotation. Like if we think about that, say we were going to have Darius Slay was going to play on one side. He's going to be the guy there. Roby Coleman's going to be the guy in the slot. We know that's shut down. We were worried about the other side, and okay, probably a lot of guys would rotate. Maddox would rotate. LeBlanc might rotate. Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas, they all might get a chance to play over there a little bit. Well, if every time Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas play over there, they continue to not make plays and continue to suck it up, stink up the joint and get burnt and shit like that, maybe it's just better if they're not a part of the rotation to begin with. So maybe we're better off with them just not being a part of that, and let's focus on Maddox and LeBlanc as the two guys that are primarily going to see the time out there, and Mills becomes your guy that he's now your technically your fifth corner, your extra guy that you can, if you like a matchup, you can put him on that guy because he's shown the ability, especially in the red zone and areas like that, to be very, very effective in coverage. Whenever he's in a position where he can't get burnt over the top, and he knows he can't get burnt over the top, he's much better in coverage, i.e. the red zone. He's one of the best red zone corners in my opinion because of that.
Before we get ready to wrap it up, is there any other kind of NFL, prediction news or anything you kind of want to go over before we get ready to close it off? And again, guys, stay tuned. For afterwards, we are doing a Game 7 watch party tonight. So,
one thing I'll go out, all these people, obviously everybody loves to hate on the Patriots and Bill Belichick and all that. The Patriots are going to go win the AFC East again. Cam Newton's going to have a resurgent year in that offense, playing in that system. Josh McDaniels is going to end up becoming like the hottest head coaching candidate in football again because of the type of year that offense is going to have playing under Cam Newton. Watch them win like 11 or 12 games and be the same old type of thing that they always do. They might win football games in a little bit of a different way, but everybody thinks they're going to take this huge.
I still think they're more than capable of winning 9 games. I don't think it's going to be a run away for the Buffalo Bills.
9 games at the bottom of my I'd be shocked if they won.
I mean, I don't think the Buffalo Bills is as great as everyone's kind of as touting them up to be. They are a very, very good football team. They deserve some of the praise they are getting.
Otherwise, I just don't know if I'm sold on Allen yet. Is he accurate?
That's kind of where I'm going. I was going to go with it without really going there. It's like, they deserve it, but I haven't seen it from that quarterback yet. And, just like we talk about goalies in hockey, football, it's the quarterback. So.
I love his skill set, and they obviously went out and got Diggs to be a number 1 wide receiver, but that number 1 wide receiver can only do you so much if you can't accurately throw him the football.
Okay. Is the AFC ultimately going to come down to Baltimore and Kansas City, or will there be a dark horse to kind of take it one of the crowns off of the 2 favorites in that AFC?
There could be a dark horse. I mean, there could be a dark horse, sure. I think Baltimore and Kansas City.
Would it be those Patriots, or is there someone else?
Yeah, I think it's very, very ignorant to just say, the Patriots have to count the Patriots out and just dismiss everything they've done and make it seem like that was all Tom Brady and there was nothing else to it. It's just very, very ignorant. The Patriots will be in that conversation, but they're not as good as the Ravens or the Chiefs, and they're not as good of a football team as they probably were last year. But yeah, they can still outcoach they're a coaching staff that in any football game, that coaching staff can outcoach any other coaching staff in football. Or if everything goes according to plan, they're that good of a coaching staff and that team's that well coached. So I expect that offense to look a lot different. Yeah. I think you're going to see it.
Obviously.
Yeah, because it has to.
But, you mentioned them, Mr. TB12. he's going to be down there in Tampa Bay now.
People are excited down here. I'll tell you what. You want to talk about some bandwagon fans? I've never seen people. I'm a Buccaneers fan. Bitch, you didn't give a damn about. You didn't give diddly squat about the Buccaneers last year. You rep the Buccaneers are my team. Sure, the Buccaneers are your team, but you didn't give diddly goddamn nothing about them. Now all of a sudden they got Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and every other veteran from the retirement home that they could think of to bring into this goddamn thing. And we're all of a sudden all in on this.
Next time, Don, you have a good one, brother. But no, here's the thing. As much as people want to be bandwagon this, bandwagon that, they have a good football team.
They have a good football team, a great football team.
Aside, Tom Brady is there. They have someone who can throw the football. It is a plug on a serious leak on that team that has been a problem for a while. They arguably have one of the best wide receiver corps in the National Football League. Then you mix that up with the fact that Rob Gronkowski's out of retirement, and O.J. Howard isn't half bad down there. He's not.
No.
So, and what me and you were talking about, they could wind up very well running a whole lot of 12 personnel, and they could wind up giving a whole lot of teams some problems, regardless of who the running back is. Even if Fournette's going to be the guy who's taking a majority of the snaps as your starting running back. And they don't have a bad core of running backs there. The question is, can that offensive line block, and can that defense actually stop people?
That front seven, that Tampa front seven is actually
what I'm saying.
It's one of the best front seven in football. Their front seven is phenomenal. Yeah. And last year, when you look at the fact that they won 7 games, they won 7 games. Yeah, and they led the NFL in turnover.
That quarterback play, garbage.
Yeah, they led the NFL in turning over the football. They had over 30 turnovers, and they still won 7 games. One thing about Brady, whether or not he's the same guy as he was when he was winning MVPs or not, you can cut the turnover number at least in half. You can cut it at least in half.
And then you put that in the perspective, that should be at the very least a 10-win football team. So they are going to be at the very least a third to a number 3 seed in this conference. The question is who are they knocking out? Are the Rams going to continue to regress?
Yeah, I think the Rams.
I think the Rams. What's going on in New Orleans? What's really going on in New Orleans? Because you got a whole lot of things going on with, you may have a fractured clubhouse going on over there with going on with Breeze's comments, and now Alvin Kamara wants to trade.
That's a little bit weird, isn't it? It's a little weird there.
Tampa Bay could very well push themselves from relatively obscurity in that division to probably being the.
I thought New Orleans might take a little bit of a step back anyway. I thought the Rams are going to take a step back. For me, Seattle, San Francisco, and Tampa are by far the 3 best teams in the NFC right now.
You're going to see some fun fights and matchups because that gets really nasty out there. But them 3,
a lot of people are still high on Green Bay. To be honest, I think Green Bay takes a step back. I think they were lucky to win 13 games last year. I think
that goes back to the thing we were just talking about with Don. Do you think that the Bears could wind up having a bad run early on in Nick Foles, sneaking them into the playoffs?
I'd say, if anything, the Lions are the sleeper team in that division. The Lions,
Don's team, the Lions.
Right now the Vikings are the favorite to win that division. But if you look at before Stafford got hurt last year, the type of year he was having, he was on pace. He was putting up MVP type numbers, close to 5,000 yards, type of on pace for type of numbers like that. If anything, I would think the Lions are the team that could be a little bit of a sleeper and come close to winning 9 or 10 games and maybe sneaking their way into that conversation. I think the NFC's got a lot of teams that, like I said, Seattle, Tampa, and San Fran are the 3 dominant teams, but there's a lot of other teams that are pretty good.
We didn't really mention that I think people should keep their eye on, obviously, is the Tennessee Titans. You cannot sleep on that team. Ryan Tannehill, don't give me that, dude.
I like the Titans.
He's going to continue to keep that team very relevant. And the other team is watch the Carolina Panthers make some noise this season.
Okay, I'm with you with the Panthers. They're my dark horse from making some noise over here in the NFC. All right, I like that. You go ahead and pick a dark, because my dark horse to make some noise in the AFC is going to be the Denver Broncos. I think Denver's got a really, really good roster.
Their trade the last few years has been on point.
I think they've got a very good roster
over there. That's as much as people hate on John Elway, he's changing that.
He's finally figured it out a little bit. The past couple drafts have been really good, and they've got young talent on both sides. They've got 3 really good young receivers. They've got a great young tight end. I really like Drew Lock. Whatever obviously you need to. This is going to, he's going to get a full run at it this year. We're going to see what the kid is. Yeah. But, I just judge what my eyes tell me when I watch a kid's skill set. And there's 2 things that stood out for me about him. And the one thing I really love about him more than anything else is the mocks. The kid plays with a confidence about him. And that's something you can't teach. You either have that or you don't. And I love that about him. So I guess the Broncos being a sleeper team in the AFC.
I guess my flop, no, sorry, Stipe, and sorry, Jess I, but I know y'all love your Cleveland Browns, but no. And I think everyone keeps sitting there saying, "Oh, Baker's gonna have a breakout." I don't buy to that yet. You have to show me something first.
I mean, Baker had a really good rookie year.
Saying that he did. He's going to lead that team to a playoff berth for the season, and if he doesn't, then he's going to get stuck with the bust moniker. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, it all depends on the type of year he has. Personally, if he has another year like he did last year, absolutely. Baker, listen, here's the bottom line with Baker Mayfield. People need the talent, all that yada yada. No, Baker. Yeah. This is what's going to make Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield needs to grow the fuck up. That's his Achilles heel. He was very immature coming into the league. He's been very immature since he entered the league. If he can grow the fuck up and mature and grow, and act like a grown man as opposed to being the very immature person that he has been, that's what's going to help him take the next step. All the talent's there. That kid can make every throw. We've seen that. Maybe not consistently, but we've seen that, and he showed a lot of that his rookie year. He's just very immature. But one of the biggest problems, and you've seen this with NFL quarterbacks throughout the history of the NFL, Ryan Leaf had a ton of talent. Ryan Leaf was an immature head case that never was going to figure that side of it out, and still hasn't figured it out at 45. I think he's back in jail again. So, it's things like Jeff George had all the talent in the world. Jeff George had the $1 million arm and a 10-cent head. So there's been plenty of examples of quarterbacks with all types of talent that never figure it out because maturity-wise and mentally up here, they just don't get it. And Baker has not shown the ability to get that up here yet. But I like their team enough and their talent on that team enough to say I'd be willing to say my team that's a flop, I'd be more confident the Browns are going to win 8 or 9 games this year than I would that the Titans are going to repeat their success from last year. I think I like Tennessee's roster. Everything about Tennessee I like except for their quarterback. People are way too high on Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was.
I think that the Browns will have more wins than the Titans this
year. Ooh. Well, I'm not. I'm saying I'd be less. I'll reword it like this. I'd be less surprised about the Browns. I'd be more shocked.
The Browns having a successful season than the Titans repeating the success from last season.
But I'd be more shocked. I think it'd be more realistic to say the Browns are going to win 8 or 9 games than it would be to say the Titans are going to come within a couple drives of going to the Super Bowl again. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Tannehill to me is what he is. He's a decent quarterback. He's better than Mariota was for them. But the guy, he's not a good quarterback. He's not top half of the league. And they did a great job of being able to put him in positions to succeed last year and hiding his limitations, but that can only go on for so long. I don't trust him to be able to continue to play at that level for a whole year. I see them as being more of an 8 or 9 win team, as opposed to, being able to be a team that goes and wins that division per se.
I feel you, man.
But I think they're really well coached. I love Mike Vrabel. I think Vrabel's a very, very good head coach.
I'm with you, man. I like Vrabel, but I don't know. I'm not.
That's an interesting division, though, because that division, Jacksonville's going to stink. Jacksonville's going to absolutely stink. Tennessee could be. It's probably safe to say Tennessee at the very least is going to be decent. They're not going to stink. They might not be great, but they're probably a safe bet to win you close to 8 games, give or take one way or the other, a game or two. Indianapolis, who knows what the hell they're going to be with Phillip Rivers. That's another team. They could stink, or they could be pretty decent. They could be pretty good. We don't know. Houston Houston, I like Deshaun Watson. They just gave him all this money. But I really think Deshaun Watson, one, I don't think Bill O'Brien's a good head coach. I think the guy, I hate guys. Bill O'Brien's that helicopter parent. Remember growing up, like you always had that friend with the had helicopter parents, and you're like, dude, like your parents are just like, good Lord, like what the fuck? Like you're never going to accomplish anything in life because your parents don't let you fucking breathe and like make any decisions for yourself. That's Bill O'Brien. Like nobody gets to fucking have any say in that organization except him. I think the guy's fucking terrible. And they just lost their best playmaker in DeAndre Hopkins, and we're just supposed to expect that Deshaun Watson's just going to be the same player that he always has been. And that's a little bit of a hostile situation there. They gave him all this money. He doesn't really have guys to throw the football to outside of the guys that were there, Fuller and guys like that who can never stay healthy. He's always hurt, that type of thing. That offense could be in trouble.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the Titans is more of a chance to be your flop of the AFC than anything.
You think too?
I'm with you there. The Titans could be your bigger chance of being your flop.
I mean, I even like it's painful for me to say that because I like everything else about them. I think they've got a solid roster. I think they're well coached. I just really hate Ryan Tannehill.
All right, man. It's fair enough. But let's get ready to wrap this one up. But again, big thanks to Christopher Daukus for his time this afternoon. Again, guys, make sure you are watching our Game 7 watch party tonight here on HTD Radio. Let's go, Flyers. Let's go.
Go Islanders.
Because I'm an Islanders fan.
Apparently, I'm an Islanders fan now. So hey.
Yeah, well, I forget who made that comment. I think it was. I think it might have been. I forget where.
I don't even I can't name one player on their team. This is how bad that is. I really don't. I'm picking them to win, but I can't name a single player.
Again, thanks for everyone for tuning in this afternoon. We'll be back again next week, same time, same channel.
Flyers fans are going to hate me if they lose tonight. Oh, I'm going to be to blame. They're going to put all the blame on me.
All the bad juju is going to be on you, brother. It's all of it's going to be on you.
I'm going to be the easy target.
But, again, we're closing. Again, we're brought to you by our doc, your doc, making your Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, official locations. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. And again, everyone, make sure you're headed over to Philly Drinkers and getting your A2D gear, shakers, hats, wrestling tees, all that good stuff. I got my gaithers upstairs and stuff. That's what I wear instead of having to go out wearing a mask and all that. And make sure you guys are tuning in tonight. Again, we got so much stuff going on here on A2D Radio between what we're doing here on the weekly roundup to what the mothership is doing, what what all the guys got going on. I think the sports hands already have a fun guest line this week. Birds of a Feather already have a fun show locked up for you guys. So, all our sports fans, we got every kind of medicine you need to fix your virus cures. So
whatever tickles your fancy.
Exactly. So, guys, appreciate your time this afternoon. Again, I'm Steve Rochelle. He's Zach Bird. This was Weekly Roundup, A2D Radio. We'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one, guys.